What a weekend it was at the Japanese Grand Prix. Red Bull definitely made their mark, clinching this year's Constructors' Championship with style. Max Verstappen, the man of the hour, showcased an extraordinary performance, producing one of his most dominant wins this season. But the weekend was not so rosy for his teammate, Sergio Perez. A series of unfortunate mishaps led to his retirement, a stark contrast to Verstappen's triumph. Meanwhile, Charles Leclerc was back in form, putting up a remarkable show for Ferrari and outshining his teammate, Carlos Sainz Jr. A riveting weekend of high-speed drama, surprises, and a dash of disappointment. Absolutely thrilling. Ladies and gentlemen, a hearty hello from your host, Enzo Watts. As always, we're bringing you the latest and the greatest from the world of Formula One here on F1 Motor Fever podcast. Today, I'm joined by an absolute gem of a commentator, William, who brings a wealth of knowledge to the table. Isn't that right, William?
That's right, Enzo. Always ready for another thrilling conversation.
Brilliant. Now remember, folks, if you enjoy our daily rundown of all things Formula One, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn your notifications on, drop a comment, and share it with your mates. Every bit of your support helps keep this show on the road. I tell you now, today's episode is one you don't want to miss. We've got some fascinating insights from the Japanese Grand Prix. There were some astonishing performances, a bit of heartbreak, and a whole lot of high-speed action. I promise, you won't believe some of the things we've got to share. So, keep your ears peeled. On that note, let's hit it, full throttle. Let's delve a bit deeper into the performances at the Japanese Grand Prix, shall we? The weekend was absolutely owned by Max Verstappen, who clinched his 12th victory of 2023 in a remarkable fashion. From pole position to the finish line, he never looked in any danger of being challenged. Now, isn't that a testament of dominance? His race pace was nothing short of metronomic, and his fastest lap was over a second quicker than Norris's. How about that?
And what's remarkable is how much he was likely cruising. It's hard to put this win in the same tier as his triumph at Spa. Absolutely riveting.
Spot on. On the other hand, Sergio Perez had a bit of a rough weekend. He started off reasonably well, qualifying 5th on the grid, but then things took quite a downturn. He suffered damage at the start of the race, served penalties, and finally retired. Quite a stark contrast to Verstappen's performance.
Indeed, it just goes to show the unpredictable nature of the sport, doesn't it?
It certainly does. I can't help but wonder at the sheer level of adrenaline, the competitiveness, and the emotional roller coaster that is Formula One. What do you make of it all, dear listeners? Are you as captivated by these updates as we are? Be sure to let us know, and don't forget to hit that like button if you're enjoying the content. Thanks for tuning in, and let's dive back into the action, shall we? Onwards we go. Moving on to the rest of the pack, let's talk about Charles Leclerc. After a dip in form, Leclerc was back in his stride at Suzuka. He qualified 4th, even beating a Red Bull to the punch. He held his position over the opening laps and managed to pass both Alonso and Ocon on the same lap, finishing 4th, a fine 5 seconds ahead of Hamilton. Wouldn't you say that's a commendable performance in a car that couldn't challenge for a podium?
Absolutely. It's a testament to his skill and determination. But could you give us a few more examples of his impressive moves?
Oh, certainly. Think about his qualifying lap that was good enough to leave Perez in the dust. Or consider how he caught and passed Russell for 4th place. These are just signs of how he was back in form and ready to make a mark. Now, on to Carlos Sainz Jr. He had a decent run, qualifying 6th. He admitted to struggling with his setup but managed to gain a place over the damaged Perez at the start and ran behind Leclerc in 5th. He made some good moves, catching Hamilton and passing Russell for 6th.
Sounds like a race of persistence for Sainz. Any other notable performers?
Certainly. Let's take George Russell as an example. Starting 8th, he managed to hold his own among the front runners. We'll certainly be diving deeper into his performance and others in a bit. But for now, let's continue to unravel this high-octane drama that unfolded at the Japanese Grand Prix. Let's move on to George Russell now, shall we? Russell qualified in 8th position, a hair's breadth behind his teammate in terms of lap time. Despite losing a place to Alonso at the start, he made a daring move to stay out on mediums as the rivals around him pitted, shooting up to 2nd place at one point. Although he couldn't keep Sainz at bay, he put up quite the fight to secure 7th place. It seems Russell was the only front-running driver bold enough to attempt a one-stop strategy.
Hold on. Would you mind just clarifying, why is a one-stop race so unlikely?
Are you taking the mickey? A one-stop race being unlikely is as obvious as the fact that cars go round and round on a track.
Well, there could be people listening who are new to Formula One, you know.
Fair point, but I reckon people that new might just get fed up and change the channel if we start explaining the basics.
On the contrary, I think it could still be of interest, even if it seems rather straightforward.
Alright, point taken. We'll keep it in mind for future episodes. On to Pierre Gasly now. He scored another points finish after a decent performance over the weekend. Despite causing major front damage during second practice, he recovered well to qualify 12th. He also had to give up his 9th place to allow Ocon through at the finish.
I heard a rumor that Gasly was actually asked to give up his place as part of a wager he lost with Ocon over a game of poker. Is that true?
Oh, come off it. That's pure speculation. Remember, it's vital to check facts from reliable sources. In Formula One, those would be the official Formula One website or Bandeirantes, the official F1 broadcaster in Brazil.
Oh, right. I'm sorry about that. I'll be more cautious next time.
No worries. Now, on to Norris. Making it back-to-back podiums in Suzuka, Norris secured possibly the best result he could have hoped for with Verstappen clear out front. Despite being narrowly beaten by his teammate to the front row, he managed to get ahead of Piastri and Verstappen at the start, eventually finishing second. Now, let's talk about a rising star in Formula One, Oscar Piastri. Despite it being his first time at Suzuka, Piastri showed remarkable skill. He managed to outqualify his teammate and start from the front row. While he couldn't quite keep up with Norris, he still secured his first career podium. Then we have Valtteri Bottas, who had a bit of a tough run at Suzuka. Despite qualifying 16th.
Sorry to interrupt, but Bottas actually qualified in 16th place, not 20th.
Oh, right, my apologies. I misspoke. Bottas qualified in 16th place, and unfortunately, he got caught up in a bit of a scuffle at the start, which caused damage to his car and ultimately led to his retirement from the race. Thanks for catching that error, mate.
No problem, we all make mistakes. Just thought it was important to get the facts straight for the listeners.
Let's move on to Zhou Guanyu now. Zhou had an average performance, qualifying in 19th position and finishing 13th. He had a decent enough start but was unlucky to strike debris from an unrelated clash. And despite this setback, Zhou managed to maintain a steady pace throughout the race.
Yes, it seemed to be quite a steady race for him, all things considered.
Now let's discuss Lance Stroll. His performance was somewhat subpar. Despite having a car that is capable of a top 10 finish, he wasn't quite able to deliver. He started 17th but unfortunately had to retire due to a rear wing failure.
That does sound like an unfortunate turn of events for Stroll.
Yes, definitely. However, it's important to remember that these things can happen in racing. What matters is how you bounce back from them. The veteran Fernando Alonso showed us once again why he's one of the most respected drivers on the grid. Though he qualified in the 10th spot, he managed to gain 4 places on the first lap and stayed in the top 6 until his pit for hard tyres.
Yes, Fernando's strategy and his ability to maximize his car's performance is quite remarkable.
Quite right. He showed great skill, finishing 8th, which is quite impressive considering the competition. Now, on to Kevin Magnussen. He had a bit of a rough time, didn't he?
That's one way to put it.
He qualified 15th but unfortunately was hit by Perez after only 12 laps. That's a shame, it ruined his race, and he ended up finishing a lap down in 15th position.
Indeed, a tough break for Magnussen.
And finally, let's talk about Nico Hülkenberg. Even with high tyre degradation being a concern, Nico managed to finish in 14th position. Considering the circumstances, that's not at all bad. But what's surprising to me is how well he managed those hard tyres. What do you think?
It's a testament to his driving skills, I would say. Managing tyre degradation is no easy feat, especially in challenging circumstances. Nico showed great determination and skill.
Now on to Yuki Tsunoda. He performed admirably in front of his home crowd. Qualifying 9th, he dropped a couple of places at the start but still managed to finish in 12th.
Indeed, it must have been quite special for him racing on home soil.
Yes, and have you heard the whispers around the paddock? There's talk of Tsunoda being particularly motivated this race, due to the home support.
Ha ha ha, oh please. That certainly could be a factor, but let's not indulge in gossip.
Alright, fair enough. Let's move on to Liam Lawson. His performance was solid throughout the weekend. Although he didn't make it into Q3, he managed to finish just outside the points in 11th place.
Yes, Lawson has indeed been demonstrating his potential as a racer. It's encouraging to see such talent rising through the ranks.
Our final drivers on the list are Alexander Albon and Logan Sargent. Starting with Albon, he qualified in 13th position, but after a collision with Bottas, he was forced to retire due to the resulting damage. A very unfortunate way to end the race, don't you think?
Absolutely. Albon just didn't have luck on his side this race. He was certainly in a decent position to start with, but sometimes these things just happen in racing.
Indeed, it's part of the sport. Now on to Logan Sargent. I must say, he had quite a rough time at Suzuka. He started at the pit lane with a 10 seconds time penalty and then got himself into another collision with Bottas at the restart. Eventually, he was forced to retire.
Yes, it was a tough weekend for Sargent. That incident with Bottas was really unfortunate. He's a promising driver, but this weekend was not his best showing. He'll definitely be looking to bounce back stronger in the next race.
William, let's take a moment to see what the fans are chatting about online. Anything interesting popping up?
Well, there's a lively discussion going on about Liam Lawson's future in F1. User RacingFan96 says, quote, "Word is that Lawson has agreed to a reserve or simulator role in 2024, in exchange for a contractual obligation for Red Bull or AlphaTauri to give him a race seat in 2025, unquote.
That's rather intriguing.
Yes, and there's quite a response to this. User CraigAsm2233 comments, quote, "That's such a great deal for him. He is getting a guaranteed seat at AT, and if he keeps up his performances in a year he takes over from Perez or Rick at RB, unquote."
Some fair points there. What else are people saying?
Well, there is a bit of skepticism. User Splashbot shares, quote, "I'm pretty cynical, but I don't think I trust these kinds of contracts, don't think they're worth the paper they are written on. Red Bull for sure will have plenty of loopholes to have whatever driver they want in 2025. Sure, AlphaTauri will be renamed next year, so that alone may void it, unquote."
And there we have it. The fans always have their own take on things, don't they? That's a wrap for today's episode of F1 Motor Fever podcast. We thoroughly enjoyed recapping the last race, discussing the drivers' performances and of course, engaging in some good old Formula 1 banter. We'd like to thank all of you for joining us and encourage you to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss a future episode. Spread the word about our channel among your Formula 1 loving friends and family and take a moment to leave us a comment.
Especially if it's a comment about Perez having a midlife crisis. We're always open for a laugh here. Remember, we're on air every day, serving up all the Formula 1 chatter you can handle. And let's just say, we've got some juicy topics lined up for you.
We genuinely appreciate your time and support. It's been a pleasure hosting you today and we can't wait to do it all over again in the next episode.
And remember, folks, pedal to the metal, keep your gaze on the road, our channel's content is pure gold. See you next time.